Welcome back, everyone, to Miles Trial. This show is brought to you by the NFSE Speaks team. My name is Saturn, and I'm your host for today. It's been a while since I hosted, so let's get the show started. And if I'm not be asking correct questions, just I'm gonna keep improving on it for in future shows. And I know we started just a little bit late today, so let's get started right away and have Kevin from right outside the Southern District Court of New York on the show. Hey Kevin,
Hi, Saturn.
how you
Glad
doing?
back again.
It's good to see you. So let's get the show started. First I wanted to ask you, how is Miles today in court?
Yeah, I mean, of course. So, Miles today, he was wearing a gray suit, white shirt, and a light tan-colored tie. And, I gotta say, he looks very high-spirited today. I've been gone for 2 weeks. I come back, and he looks even more energetic than before. So that's obviously a good sign. And today, he was just smiling and waving at all, the fellow fighters on scene, as well as he was, it seemed to be that he was also counting as well, just to see, how many of us were on scene, because let me tell you, it was packed today.
Yeah, I think that's great to hear. I think that's also how Miles gets so energetic during the trial, because that's like one of one of the times during the day he gets to be with the members of the NFSC while they're in the same courtroom. So before we move on to today's trial, I wanted to have you recap a little bit about what was being discussed in yesterday's trial, and what kind of testimonies we left off of for yesterday's witness.
Yeah, for sure. So today, there's no new witnesses. It's still the 14th witness. Just a brief background on this witness. His name is Haitham Khalid, and he used to work for Citibank, and he also used to work for Saraka. So he worked for Miles Grove before, and he's a relationship banker. His official title is before was banking relationship manager. And so basically what he does is, he manages the relationships between banks. He helps open bank accounts and helps, maintain the bank accounts as well. And yesterday, the prosecution was just questioning him on, his relationship with Saraka as well as what he did. And they were going through audio recordings that he secretly recorded, because his concern was that, at the end, he mentioned that there was $100 million going to one of the bank accounts he created called for an entity called Crane. And so he was the sole owner of this entity. And then he had $100 million coming in, from G Club memberships and other wire transfers. And so he mentioned that, he was unsure of what to do with this money, and he was worried because he was receiving so many different instructions from different people. And so at the end of the day, the prosecution was just going through the audio recordings, and that's where it ended off. And then for today, that's where it picked up. And so the prosecution went through, a bunch of audio recordings, basically sort of, trying to show that, he was receiving, different instructions from many different people, and how he was confused by it.
Yeah, thank you for the recap and a little bit about today. And actually, you brought up there was audio recordings. Were there a lot of evidence that was being shown both from yesterday and today?
So most of the evidence today, during the direct examination by the prosecution, was audio recordings. There was like maybe one or two documents, but most of them were just audio recordings. And so, for example, it's just So for example, it's just meetings between participants such as the witness himself, Miles' son, Victor Serta, and just other participants.
So I mean, it sounded like it was quite a lot of audio recordings based on the number of people you just listed off of.
Yeah.
Is that the case?
Yeah. There were definitely a lot of audio recordings. It was like sometimes there was like two participants, Miles' son and the witness himself. Sometimes there was three, but just many different. Like I mentioned yesterday, a laundry list of audio recordings.
Yeah, and also regarding the audio recordings, I do feel like I do have this question. Was there enough clarity that is given regarding these audio recordings, both maybe just by like the clarity of the information in the audio recording itself, and also by the testimony of the witness?
Mhm. So before every audio recording, the prosecution would have, like they would have the transcription and the video or the audio side by side. And so the prosecution would ask the witness to first, speak out loud the date and the time of the recording, as well as the participants. And then the prosecution would jump, bit from bit from the audio recording. And, to me, it seems like, in my personal opinion, it seemed that, the audio recordings were just bits and pieces of meetings that were, used to enhance the prosecution's arguments of how, the witness was confused by different, instructions.
So what are the other arguments? So I understand like that's the first one, that the witness is confused by by the instructions on how to make the wires and such. And what are some of the other arguments you feel like the prosecution team was building yesterday and today?
To me, it just seemed like that was the main argument they were focusing on, just based off all the audio recordings they showed.
I see. And what about, and did Miles's team ever get to cross-examine this witness today? And if they did, what is their game plan? What are some of the main arguments that is brought up?
Yeah, so I would say around after lunch, maybe around 12:31, the defense started their cross-examination. And so let me tell you, it was quite an interesting few hours. So as a brief background, from before, the prosecution also mentioned that witness, he filed for bankruptcy before, and he also has committed past crimes, such as, I guess, misrepresenting bank statements and crimes like that. Obviously, the defense would use this as, I guess, to discredit the witness for the jurors. And so, well, the cross-examination by the defense, they first started off by, talking about his work at Citi. So, for more background, he used to work at Citi for about 4 to 6 years. And he was there as a bank relationship manager. And he was introduced to Yvette and, therefore the G series and Soraka back in, I would say around, I think, 2018, 2019 by a law firm. And then it turns out that he was actually employed at both Citi and Soraka during a brief time in 2020 for about 2 months. And so this was mentioned during the prosecution's direct examination, but then the defense brought it back up, and they brought up evidence such as, Citi employment applications, as well as, employee manuals, where it explicitly states that you cannot be employed at any other entity while working for Citi. And so the defense, talked a bit about that, and the witness stated that he was not aware of that. And so that's when the defense brought up, evidences and screenshots of his application documents. And then afterwards, the defense moved on to talk about, his bankruptcy proceedings. And so the defense mentioned that he had bankruptcy proceedings 3 times back, over a course of 2-3 years, and he's actually still declaring bankruptcy right now in 2024. And so, the defense talked a bit about that. And one interesting thing here is that yesterday, the witness mentioned that one of his main projects was to open up a bank for, the G series, right? But it turns out that the defense clarified that to the witness that if you have bankruptcy proceedings going on, you cannot apply for a bank license. And so, that was something that was really interesting that I brought up before. And it turns out the witness did not actually know that. And so then after that, the defense also talked to the witness about, the entire interview process between him and Yvette, how he got introduced to Soraka and how those discussions began. And then the defense made, a lot of, I guess, comments and questions about how he was the one who actually tried to initiate the interviews and the job opening at Soraka, which the witness did refute, and he kept calling it as discussion. So there were ongoing discussions. He never once clearly admitted it. And then one other quite interesting thing was when the witness was unable to recall some information the defense counsel Sabrina actually had screenshots and text messages printed out and brought it up to the witness multiple times to help refresh his memory collection, and then afterwards he was able to answer those questions. And then near the end, the defense counsel asked the witness about Crane, the company he opened up to facilitate wire transfers. And so, the defense counsel was going on about how, who controlled Crane, who was able to make the decisions for Crane. And it turns out that, it was only the witness himself. There was no other, person that could control what Crane does. It was just him as the sole director of Crane. And so the witness refuted by mentioning that, he wanted to get Yvette as well as Victor Serta, who was a lawyer for one of the G-Series entities, on board. But, there's no evidence for that. And the defense counsel brought up the fact that, he recorded all these meetings and, all this audio, but how come he didn't record, more, I guess, pricing matters such as that, and, to back up his evidence and testimony. And after that, that was... Yeah.
Yeah, no, please go ahead.
No, as I was saying, that was basically it. It ended off early around 2:36.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for the very thorough, very thorough reporting of what had happened, during the cross-examination. I'm pretty sure there was some very interesting arguments just based off of a couple things that you did mention. The fact that he was employed by two companies at the same time, which violated a policy from one of his employers, Citibank. And I think it was also both two 9-to-5 jobs as well. So I think that was very interesting, how he was able to work two 9-to-5 jobs at the same time. And also, is there any final thoughts before I let you go?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me the defense's entire strategy is to basically find holes in the witnesses' testimonies, because it seemed that a bunch of the stuff he was saying yesterday and today didn't exactly seem to line up, and sometimes it changed a bit, and there were definitely instances where the defense had to bring up, you testified on direct yesterday, did you not? And then she would list out the stuff that he actually said yesterday. So it seems to me, the defense is just playing out this strategy, and it seems to be working based on the jurors' reactions. They seem much interested, and they're leaning in to listen, and there's a lot of facial reactions going on as well during the defense cross-examination.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kevin. And I know it's gonna be a long week with the long week, because there's another full 5 days of trial for this week. So again, thank you for coming on and giving us the reporting, and we're gonna see you next time on the show.
Thank you, Saturn.
Right, and before we move on to the discussion panel, I do want to let the viewers know where you guys can find some of the information regarding this trial. We are on Twitter. We are on X, formerly known as Twitter. Our handle is NFSC Speak. You can find live updates about the trial every day that the trial does take place. And also after the trial every day, we will also upload the transcript onto our official website and NFSC official. If you guys do want to check that out, that is where you guys can go to access these documents. Now, without further ado, let's move on to a discussion panel about the trial today. We will have Ava and Jackson on the show.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Saturn.
How's it going, Saturn? How's it going, everybody?
So yeah, we just basically came back from the courthouse, and I would have to say, after 14 days of listening the trial from the beginning to the end, today is the best day. Especially during the cross, I think we had the best moment. In the very first hour of the cross, I think the defense counsel had very successfully basically completely destroyed the credibility of this witness of the government. Mm-hmm. That's my assessment. So I was very excited. So I wanted to, maybe I get your take on it, and,
well,
and
actually,
we can
why don't
share.
we do this? Why don't we give the audience just a little bit more information about the arguments made by the prosecution team? Because I think whenever it comes to financial stuff, it does tend to get a little bit more confusing, and then we have to kind of sort out the logic for the audiences to understand what is the argument being made here, and why is so spectacular what Miles's legal team does to kind of counter that argument, right?
That's great. Yeah, that's a great question. So for the audiences, we wanted to let you know. So we focus a lot, yesterday afternoon, this witness 14, who was a former employee of the Soraka Media Group. And he, prior to joining the G-Series, helping us G-Series, he worked at banks only. Like being a senior seasoned bank for almost 20 years. Okay, so Citigroups and other banks, international banks. And he's very proud, you can tell he's proud with his knowledge and everything. But then in 2020, July, he entered in, go through the interview process, and then he started working at the one of the office locations, what we refer to as the Himalaya Embassy. Okay, which yesterday the prosecutor team referring as the townhouse. Okay, so the logistic behind it is the reason why, if you recall, the indictment of Miles Guo's case is a fraud case, and the number one charge, the top charge, is a RICO. Okay, it's a RICO, basically saying Kuo enterprise. Okay, so this is a crime family. They're trying to paint not only Miles Guo, but also the new federal state of China as a crime family. Okay, so this particular witness, I would say, the prosecutor team probably believed, even now, the witness is their best witness to basically providing all the evidence that's supporting this count one charge, which is a RICO. The reason why is they spent, during the cross came out, they have spent 19 times prep with this guy so far. If we recall to all the witnesses previously, we had 13 witnesses. The most we remember is 13 times, right? But this guy, they spent 19 times. Okay, so just by judging from the amount of time that the prosecutor team invested with this witness, you could say this is actually their star witness. So that is why yesterday afternoon, and including this morning, we went through a lot of companies, right? These are the related entities of the Guo family fund, like a family office and G-Series.
So they call it the G Enterprise.
That's right, G Enterprise
in the
indictment. So that is why in yesterday and today, entire morning, right? Even after the lunch break, when we come back, the prosecutors, started a little bit direct questioning before handed over to the defense counsel for cross. So basically, we pretty much spent the full day, because yesterday the prosecutor team started asking question in 10:50, if I remember correctly.
Oh, 10:50
in the morning.
Wow.
So they had an entire morning bits and then entire afternoon and plus this morning and over lunchtime. So if you're adding all the time together, they actually spent more than a day. More than full day to actually question this guy. So that's why they probably had to, prep him for 19 times, because there's a lot of, they're hoping to solicit a lot of substances that could actually supporting their number one charge. But you know what? I have to say, I felt the effort that they put it in. Like so I don't know whether you shared, whether yesterday's show, whether we shared with the audiences that this witness secretly recorded audios, with the people that he worked together, particularly with Yvette Wang, with Miles Guo, with other colleagues who working at the location, which they call townhouse. We call Himalaya headquarters or Himalaya embassy. So he secretly recorded the audio, and this morning we pretty much spent the full morning listening to all those audios that he secretly recorded, so different meetings. But the dates, the range is, the time is important here, because later on we will share a little bit, the information came across from the cross that speaks in volume in his motivation, in why he chose to do that at that time. So the video recording is from April to May 2021. Remember, he started working at the location in August 1st, 2020. Okay, so that means after about eight months, okay, and he started to record all those meetings selectively, according to what he said. He didn't record all of the conversations, but he selectively recorded them and then basically submitted all of the recording to the prosecutor team. Okay, so the timing is important. The reason why is a lot of the recording we listened this morning speaks to the difficulties moving money around, okay? Particularly those monies that from investors, from G Club investors, okay? That's us, right? That's the supporters of the whistleblower movement. So they mentioned the CCP name was jumped out, okay? Because of the reason why Miles Guo, Yvette Wang, and Miles and Guo, and I think William Ye was also on some of the recordings. The reason why they are so eager, and there's a time urgency emphasized on moving out of the money out of the United States. And the sole reason why is that is because the CCP is on the hunt for the investors' money. So that is the time urgency behind it. Okay, so that's why we need to get the money out of it, out of the touch of the CCP, because we know how capable the CCP is. They not only control a lot of Chinese banks, their dark clouds is actually on international banks, including United States banks. This is the reason, okay? And then this witness, he is the sole owner of a company called Crane, C-R-A-N-E. Okay, so this company he created almost immediately. In the first months, he started working at the location, at the G series, at the G Enterprise, right? Locations. And in the first months, he registered, he start the process creating Crane. And Crane was serving an escrow agent role to facilitating the money transfer, because we had so much challenges and issues dealing with the bank accounts because the CCP is closing them and they trying all the ways to sabotage ours. So that is why we're trying to disassociate any new entities that created with the Golden Spring, with Miles Guo, because CCP enemy number one means something, right? So this guy came into picture and he offered to to basically he chose the name of the company, he registered the Crane company, and then he provided the escrow agent role. However, the audios that we went through, there's numerous of them. I think at least 7 or 8 of them this morning, at least. I don't remember altogether exactly the number, but he's seen in the video, he created a lot of reasons for not moving the money. But one of the key reasons he repeatedly cited that jumps out for me this morning is due diligence. Okay, so he said, I can't move the money because he already signed an agreement with G Club, right? Providing the escrow agent, basically throughput, right? The money coming from G Club, he would have remitted to whatever investors want them to go, like for example, G Dollar, right? Or GTV, whatever. But then he said, no, because of a due diligence, I need this, I need that. He created a lot of a reason. Sounds like, reasonable reason, right? If you don't know the background story or the full story, you would have believed this guy. Okay, yeah, this guy is a banker. He must know what he's talking about. But not necessarily. He didn't know anything, because when they crossed, he didn't know a lot of things that happened with all those companies. For example, Lexington, the other companies that in the association, he cannot say. And he didn't even know the bank statement. What are the money coming in? What are the money coming out? He has no knowledge about some of the companies, but he talks like he knows, right? So, but now the motivation comes to why he actually created all those reasons, like to stall, move the money to what the investors want them to move. It clicked in the cross section. So what happened is in May 2021, he's the sole owner of the Crane. So he signed what called payment facilitation agreement with G Club. In this payment facilitation agreement, he is entitled to charge 2% of management fee, of the service fee, okay? So the entire amount that got cleared throughout the question is 97 million. So apply 2%, he actually charged G Club for just acting as escrow agent. It was $2 million. Okay, so that gives me a lot of second thoughts about his motivation, right? Because in April, May, he started recording, right? And he's entering to negotiating agreement, a payment facilitation agreement. So although this is not directly confirmed by anyone, but in my mind, this guy is holding hostage of investors' money and creating all those sorts of reasons to not moving to the account that needs to be moved until this 2 million commission agreement is signed. Do you know what I'm saying? Because
and to put it in a better picture, it's like the 2% with the amount of assets that is being moved around. This is like you said, a huge amount of money he was making on commission.
But you know what? What's more interesting? Do you want to share with the audience? Because I don't want me talking. Because this guy's background is so unbelievable. In the first like half an hour, we were like, oh, this is a criminal. Go ahead.
Okay, so I mean, speaking to his background, I mean, he has a track record that stems all the way back to 2009. Okay, but when we first started the cross, you know, when Sabrina started asking him questions regarding his past, his background, for example, he worked for Citigroup, right? And Sabrina asked him, okay, do you know when you started? And come from the dates, and he testified in court. Everybody can go to the transcript and look up, you know, and follow along the conversation. Anywho, he got the years wrong in terms of the total amount of years that he was actually with Citigroup. So that's something very interesting.
Right, yeah.
And then from there, is interesting. Okay, and then from there, so he had a previous judgment from 2013. He had a past company or business that he owned, that he operated from, and his customers sued him, his lenders sued him.
In 2013, November.
2013.
Wow.
So the track record goes super far back.
And not only his clients, his lender also sued him in 2014, April, I think it was 22nd or 21st.
Yeah.
And the judge actually issued a judgment against him.
Yep.
Okay, and then he filed a Chapters 13 bankruptcy in 2018. Okay, and so he had a I shouldn't say he's a criminal because he's never, you know, indicted or charged or confirmed by a court of law. But this is civil, like a civil side. Yes, there's a lender's suit against him. He owned people's money, and we don't know whether the 2014 the judgment against him, whether that has anything to do with Chapter 13 bankruptcy or not, we don't know because there's no connections. But with during the cross, it did come out is he actually had a number of dismissal at the bankruptcy court, right? So the first dismissal I think was at what time? Because when he go into the Chapter 13 bankruptcy, they worked a restructure payment plan, right? Because you own people money, right? So you say, oh, I'm gonna pay you at this schedule, whatever. I don't know what the details, but and he missed the payment. So when our counsel asked him, is that because of you missed the payment? He said, no, it's not because I missed payment. It's because my
lawyers had the
lawyer,
improper documents.
Yes, it's because my lawyer made a mistake and he submitted improper documents. So then our cross said, oh, well, what about the second? What about the second dismissal? Do you have
it was
the
the first
time?
one was February 18th, 2018. The second one was November 21st, 2018.
Yeah. And then this time, the cross said, did you retain the same lawyer? He said, yeah, I retained the same lawyer. Okay, you retained the lawyer even though he made a mistake in the first place. He said, yeah.
2019, another one.
2019 February, dismissed again. Okay, so he basically means he missed the payments again.
Yeah.
Okay,
He never
so
paid back the money.
he never paid back, even though today, in this year, 2025, March 25th, another failure to pay. And our counsel confirmed, he said, do you still have the same lawyer? He said, I do. And, you know, people just react to that, right? Because very obviously he misstated the reason why he's not paying. So it sounds like this person had a track records of basically lying and defrauding, you know, misrepresenting the truth. Okay, and then very interesting is during the cross, we focusing on how he actually got this job with Yvette Wang. Because yesterday in direct questioning, he was saying, oh, it's Yvette Wang approaching me, offer me a job, right? It was completely opposite. Okay, so we actually, so the cross, in the cross, we, Sabrina basically say, was it you that, how did you get to how do you get to know Yvette is through your work at the city, right? Because you were helping the Golden Spring. Do you want to tell the story?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, he was actually never supposed to get a job at Citibank because he did lie on his job application. But talking about a little bit about how he, you know, he eventually came across Yvette, what's interesting is that he was actually moved away from being a banker that opened bank accounts. He was in the healthcare side of things. So he didn't even have the ability to open bank accounts, but because of the previous, you know, his role, guess what, Yvette was in communication. So he actually should have never, he should have just passed it on, right, to his colleague that would actually have the ability and the authority to open bank accounts, to work with Yvette. But he stayed in the conversation. He worked with her as if he was still the guy.
Can you clarify on him not having the ability to open open bank accounts?
Yes. So he was moved. His role was moved from Citibank he was originally a banker that opened bank accounts, like business banking, but then he was moved to the healthcare side. We don't know the reason. It didn't come up in court, but
so was it like a licensing issue because of the switch, or
just
something
portfolio?
else?
He doesn't work with a small business. He
Oh,
works a
okay.
particular set of clients.
Yeah,
so,
he just moved.
moved
the
out.
category essentially.
So Yvette Wang should not be his client, right?
He should have zero representation to be able to, communicate with her, to open her bank accounts and ask for the private informations.
That's right.
Regarding all of the G series and everything else, the companies, the bank statements, even, for example, like he should have never been able to ask for those information. And it came up in court. He testified that he actually, through the communication, because he referred this, Ms. Yvette, to a guy by the name of James, right?
Yeah, that's what came in to basically replace him, right?
Right,
His
but he
previous
was always on the
position.
communication, so he saw, wow, huge account, right? Over $20 million, huge account. So he wanted to get paid on, quote unquote, they had this scorecard that would record, these when you do open a big account, right, with a big client. So, anywho, it's just very interesting how that all came about, and that's pretty much the in.
Okay, let me just, there's more to it. So he moved out in his previous role and in 2019. Okay, so sort of like at the end of 2019, sounds like a pandemic just starting, 2019. And then the bank account of Yvette Wang, Golden Spring, which is why they met, why they talked initially, did not get open until to June 2020. So by the time that the account opened, he was already left to healthcare. So he wasn't basically the person in charge of Yvette Wang's account open. It was another person's name, James, that opened this account. Okay, so and then they get to know, and there was 20 million. I think there was a huge money in it, and he wants to get the bonus because they did talk about the internal Citibank. There is something called referral bonus, 30-day scorecard program or something. If your clients open an account and they maintain a balance for 30 days, you get, you have a scorecard, and the scorecard talks about your bonuses, right? So that's why his motivation is he wanted to
have to reflect on his scorecard.
Yes, exactly. Even though he's already moved on, but he wants to refer, he wants to be in the picture. That is why he is kept on communicating with Yvette Wang and about all those things. And by the time, because Cross did ask a question, he said, did you resign, were you resigned from the Citibank? He said, yes. And then our counsel said, when Citibank terminated you, employment, there was a pending investigation, right? And he said, I don't know about that. The reason why there's a pending investigation, because that leads back to what you said earlier, because he should never get the employment in Citibank, because on Citibank, he lied. Because today, the Cross, we asked him, when you started Citibank, did they give you a training? Yes. Did they give you a training manual? Did they ask you read what's in that? Did they ask you to acknowledge what the terms and rules are? Yes. Did you sign it? Yes. Could you read this? He read it out because in the questionnaire, the questions: have you been like a something illegally free or something?
Had a judgment on him.
Yeah, have a judgment
like
against you or any entity.
History.
Yeah, and he said no. And that was a lie, because we know that in 2013 and 2014 that his clients, both his clients in his previous entrepreneurship, like a startup business, was actually sued him, right? Both clients and lender, and he had still owning people money, right? So that wasn't true. So I wasn't sure whether that investigation has anything to do with his misrepresentation in the beginning before he even entered the relationship with the employment relationship with Citi or not. We don't know, but this did say that that he, sorry, I lost my thoughts.
Essentially, he wasn't able to. Before he left, he had this pending investigation on him.
That's correct.
And because he filed for bankruptcy in 2018 and then 19 and leading up all those years, he had a lot of financial distress, which.
That's right. And also, there's a moment that the Cross asked him a question a lot about the conversation he had with Yvette, talking about negotiating his salary. Okay, and there's 3 times that the cross had to remind him what his conversation was with Yvette. The cross had a copies of, seems to me, because we didn't see it, right? They didn't,
messages.
the text message, pages and pages and text messages, and ask him, oh, it was you that you talked to Yvette that you saw what your company need a person like me, I could help you this and that. It was you that wanted to get in because you know that you wanted to leave Citibank, right? Because maybe something to do with the investigation, we don't know, but he doesn't remember. He said no, and then so the defense lawyer.
Well, he actually originally, when he was talking to Yvette, he testified in court saying that he actually pitched him saying, "Oh, I'm thinking about starting a consulting firm, and whatnot," and because he, in his mind, he realizes how big of an account Yvette was.
Yeah.
You see. And so he was trying to, and guess what? He was turned down. Yvette didn't want to get into business with him. Oh, start a firm. And then one conversation led to another. He essentially, got himself, quote unquote, the interview, which he didn't want to admit that it was an interview.
Yeah, it was an interview. It a meeting. He consistently called it, it wasn't an interview, it's a meeting. But it is the interview, right? Because they review the resume, you got a job offer after the second time talking to them, so it is an interview. And as you said, the cross did confirm, he said, it was your desire to create a consulting firm, right? Yeah, it was you that wanted to have international client base. Yeah, it was like, so they connected together. Basically, it was him that pitched the idea of working for them. Okay, and it was also him to actually, he was negotiating the salaries, and he was asked for a huge amount of money, and 450,000 was came along, and also he also asked for 70,000 performance bonus. Okay, because he said, oh, in Citibank we had a performance bonus. You should.
He said,
pay
oh,
me.
I'm gonna give it up, so you gotta pay me that bonus.
And how much was he already making from his salary?
Oh.
From yesterday's direct, it was he was making $200,000 because he confirmed when the prosecutor questioned him. He said it was a 40% increase. Because eventually he got $350,000 offer as an annual salary, working basically his job is open bank accounts and facilitating moving transfer. He was using his knowledge and experience as a banker, basically, right?
So let me backtrack a little bit. So he was making that much as his salary. He's asking for bonuses, and he's also making the 2% kickback.
And he's asking for a 2-month signing bonus. He's asking for
But what happened? Do you know what happened after the $2 million? Because he charged $2 million, but right. So what happened after he took the $2 million from the G Club? G Club actually terminated that agreement.
Correct.
Okay.
Because he breached.
Yes, and G Club then basically sued him, like it's arbitration, okay, brought him to court and in arbitration proceeding, and saying that he breached the contract because it takes forever to transfer the money, because the money is seized by the government right now, right? Because all the money was falsified by the American government right now. Because at that time, Miles School said we need to move the money as soon as possible. Throughout the secretly recorded audio, we know that there is absolutely urgency. And they're also protecting. Throughout the audio, there's one more information I need to share. Is Miles School suggested a methods of, because I believe from the information came across, it wasn't confirming the court. I believe Miles School and Yvette Wan has already sensed there's some delay on this guy, on this Crane guy. Okay, maybe he's, something is not right. So they proposed a scheme where, proposed a plan where the money, where Crane is going to refund. The money is going to go all back to the investors. But because we know a lot of individual investors are in China, right? When you refund to those individual investors, they are really, really risky because the CCP is going to arrest them because they're still physically living within the communist China. So what Miles School and Yvette Wan, their proposed a plan is having the alliance, Himalaya Alliance Committee, to refund all those money to Himalaya Committee, and then having the investors to sign an agreement with the Himalaya Committee to hold the money that refund from the Crane. Okay, and then so he proposed that. So I think that is absolutely for protecting the investors, because we knew, right? And I believe in the future, either through Cross or either through once the government finishing their witnesses, by the time that we can tell our story, we will help the jury, we will help everybody to understand the fight is real. Like every step of the way, because I was remembering when I was trying to wire money to GTB, when I was trying to confirm all the things, it was so many hoops for me to jump. Like it's unbelievable, you know. And all of this, in that time, I wasn't privy to all those informations. I didn't know there's a recording. I didn't know there's a meeting talking about how difficult it is to move the money from A to B and how to escape the CCP's, you know, hunt. I didn't know that. But today I knew the full picture. And because of I knew the full picture, I really appreciate, you know, the tenacity and the persistence that Miles School and all the Himalaya committees and alliance committees and all the followers that all together had pulled through, right? It's a different, completely different whole appreciation for me be part of this movement and how much we have to, you know, we have to withstand.
Yeah.
Right.
From the attack from the
that,
CCP.
and that's a great point I think you make because of all the I would assume they showed a lot of audios regarding how to make the transfer, what methods to do. That just goes to show these are just a glimpse of the efforts that they have put into to be able to, you know, protect everybody's money from the CCP's attacks. Because, you know, Miles knew it was coming. And
he knew
and he had to be fair to, you know, everybody had to figure out the best way, and he knew most importantly it had to be done as soon as possible.
That's right.
So that shows, like, you know, why there was numerous meetings and discussions back and forth about what the best way to do it is. And that also goes to show, you know, some of the recordings I would assume the things were a little bit tense just because, you know.
Oh, absolutely, Miles, one of the record we were all surprised because Miles School lost it. Like he was basically yelling, right? He was really angry. But you know what? He had so many people's life to protect. Not only the money. Like any of those investors, these 2,000 members or 1,300 members, they are trusted Miles School and NFSC and G clubs. That's why they invest. They're not just the money, their lives. This person is actually having so many lives on his shoulder that he knew that this is going to be risky, this is going to be dangerous, and many of them are still living in a totalitarian state. Why are we doing this? So that's why I think you know, you can tell, like, there's a lot of pressure. A lot of frustration. If something wrong, that could be meaning thousands of people's life could be gone.
And most importantly, there's just passion at the end of the day. With all these strong emotions, that's where it all comes from. It's from Miles' passion to take down the CCP, and also his passion to fight for you know, everybody in this world to be able to live free and to be able to live with the rule of law. So I think that's came across really clear to us. I really appreciate that the prosecutor teams, all the efforts, you know, collecting all the videos and showing me and you and room full of supporters, because we don't know this. Correct. We didn't know those you know, brainstorm sessions. Behind the scene. And Yvette was saying, you know, we can't do this because CCP is gonna track this. They're talking about how they avoid the CCP's basically
the meddling and the whatnots.
The sabotage.
They said, I think it was $18.2 million was unaccounted for, and it took so long to figure out what's going on. I mean, it's just and
also Yvette, you know, insisted, you know, have to be abide by the rule of law and have to be compliance issue. They thought about all those things why they actually have to escape the hunt of the CCP. Like you can see how challenging it is. Okay, this is not just a business meeting. This is a war room. Like when they discuss how we can keep those investors, the NFSC followers, those people wanted to take down the CCP, their assets and life safe. Okay, so that is why I see the full picture, and I believe the court and the jury and everybody, you know, will see it by the time that maybe 2 more weeks, you know, by the time that we start, we will, because right now I think a prosecutor's strategy is spaghetti throw on the wall. And
whatever
sticks, right? Because they have tons of information, and none of them really coherently make sense for a total stranger. Because this is too complicated to basically paint, even in a full day, very high level. So they kind of stick on the wall and retain and repeat on certain points, right? Oh, it's Miles School that, you know, he's the boss. And this is the this is an enterprise. You know, they mistakenly register virtual office. They want to leave the impression that you know, you don't work at the virtual office, right? Yeah, this is not the real business address. They're trying to kind of focusing on 1 or 2 or 3 points, repeat them okay? And they wanted to use a witness's mouth to confirm, yeah, they now believe this is a scam because they were deceived. They're trying that repeatedly, asking those witnesses, but it doesn't really help because you need to have evidence, you need to have substances to support your conclusion, right? You cannot just throw your conclusion on the wall and hope that they will stick. Just testing everybody's memory, it doesn't go that way. So by the time that we tell our story, you will see a full picture, and you will see how CCP are attacking us and how those people are actually trying everything, not protecting their own money, but protecting other people's life and money. And it's really selfless act, okay? But what we see from the witness 14 is he had ulterior motive throughout the way.
Yes.
He lied, he defrauded, and this is just, day and night.
Yeah. And even after breaching the agreement, the facilitating agreement with the G clubs, he still took that 2% of the fees, and he wired it. He testified in court. He wired it to his personal bank account, and he bought real estate with it using his wife's name and the entities that are owned by his wife. And it's just so interesting.
But you know what? Entering this non-prosecution agreement with the prosecutor forfeited all the $2.9 million that he took away. He moved from the Crane's bank account to his personal bank account. So basically, he didn't have any. So some of them already sold because he bought into the real estate, the 2.7 million. Some of them already sold, some of them pending, some of them in the process of selling. So, but he had to agree to falsify all the proceeds that he took from the Crane.
So I mean, I think with this witness, it's actually quite ironic because of this fact that, and another fact also is, you mentioning that this is the witness so far that that the government has spent the most time with. And turns out, this guy is a criminal. I mean, this guy has done questionable things.
Absolutely.
Since the beginning, and also even throughout the whole process, it was very questionable for some of his acts. And so for him to be what they perceive, who they spend so much time on, to attempt to build this case, build an argument around is quite ironic in my opinion.
For sure.
It's justice.
And while we are running a little bit short on time. We have just about 5 minutes, so maybe we can wrap up a little bit about what transpired towards the end of the day. Just a little bit, just touch on just a little bit.
Do you wanna?
Yeah, let me take a look. Well, from there, let's see. They went over some logistics, as for example, they went over something like about the equity that they were talking about with his employment. With that he was, because he said that, I was promised equity, of this company and this thing, that thing, but at the end of the day, it was subject, if you read the actual text, it's subject to a vetting requirement.
No, vesting.
Vesting
requirement.
Sorry,
so basically, his letter of offer with Soraka has 3 components, right? One is the base salary, which is $350. We agreed to, Eva agreed to, and then the performance bonus, and then the equity. But yesterday, in his directed testimony, he said, I didn't get any equity. Right? So today, our cross defense picked that up and say, hey, can you read this little fine print for me on your agreement? And he said, it's subject to a vesting requirement. And then we asked him, how long do you think it's a vesting period? How long it is? And he said he didn't know. He didn't know. And then our cross asked, how long have you worked in the company? He confirmed it's 11 months. Less than a year. Like usually investing, a period is at least a year, if not longer. Right. Okay, at least a year, right? For pension, for a lot of benefits.
Any of the benefits.
Any of the benefits. So this is basically, he's basically misrepresenting yesterday, like not giving people a full picture until today, the cross, right? So we actually wanted to share with you, because this is not something we personally heard, because Jackson and I had to leave the court slightly a little bit earlier. So we left the court when both parties went to a sidebar. But we were briefed on by a fellow fighter who stood at the end. He told us after the sidebar, there's a very important information came out. The judge was really concerned because remember that he
through the trial, he essentially incriminated himself
Self.
on past crimes.
That's right.
That is not covered in his
In the
non-prosecution agreement.
agreement. It's a state law, especially
Wow.
employment. I think it's a city employment. And
Mm.
the full day testified, so much information could be possibly used against him. So this is a concern that the judge brought out. After that, I think people said to us, like, he waited 20 seconds, really
Trying to figure out what's going on.
You know,
He
I
was
think,
stunned.
yeah, he was really stunned and non-communicating for 20 seconds. We wasn't there, we couldn't observe, but
Yeah.
we just wanted to bring you the information at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I mean, this seems to be the
I know.
most interesting day so far with everything that has transpired. And I would assume they have not finished cross-examining this witness yet. So
Yep.
we're likely to wrap that up tomorrow morning, or possibly get
Yep.
into a little more.
Digging all
But-
the recordings.
Yeah, but with that being said, we are running out of time for this show. So again, thank you, Ava, and thank you,
Yeah.
Jackson, for the show today.
Yeah.
I know we brought a lot of great information, and I think we broke it down in a way that's much easier for the audience to understand too, because these are financial stuff. It's not easy to understand, and I hope
Yeah.
we made it digestible for audiences through this episode. So with that being said, thank you everyone for tuning in to this episode of Miles Trial. We're going to be back tomorrow, same time, 3 p.m. Eastern to 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you guys want to find out more about this case, please go to our official website at nfscofficial.com, and we will also be uploading the transcript from today's trial as soon as it comes out. Well, thank you guys for coming, and God bless.